Going to go ahead and get started. So welcome to our Friday Mastermind. We call it Connect and Thrive Mastermind. We're part of the Be Konnected platform. So it's a show. If you're on that platform, you'll be able to see this recording on our channel as we go forward in the Richardson Plano Networkers or RPNetworkers group. It'll be posted there as well as in the private Facebook group. The way to be part of that private Facebook group is to join us live on Zoom on either Wednesday or Friday, or if you're local here in our mixers on Monday, and so on. So we'll get into that in a little bit, but I wanted to get into very quickly here and go through our 2022 vision discovery process. So the question that I have for each of you today is, what is your vision for 2022? Do you have a vision to just continue to survive, or are you looking to thrive as we go forward in 2022? My hope is that you're looking to thrive, looking to go beyond where you're at, because the question really I've asked a number of times and we talked about was, what are you going to do in 2022 versus what you've done in 2021? Last week, we talked about doing a realistic and a complete review of 2021 and taking account of our wins, understanding the things we have achieved, and continuing to move forward with that once we've kind of taking honest assessment. And that means looking at all aspects of your life. And then we talked about, once we have that foundation and understand what we've done and what we've accomplished in 2021, how do we take that forward into 2022? So today's mastermind is really focused on moving forward and taking what we worked on last week and worked on our 2021 year in review and taking that into our 2022 vision challenge. So anyway, again, I'm hoping that we're all on the same page as far as wanting to move forward. So what does that look like? So first of all, we have to wake up, and I'll explain what that means in a second. Then we have to really understand what is our vision as we move forward into 2022 and beyond. And then the step 3 is beginning the process or re-engaging the process of transforming. Transformation means that we're not just moving forward in exactly the same way, but we're actually transforming and taking it to, let's say, a new level. So that's the key we want to make sure that we're moving forward with in this process or this journey of our vision discovery process, which includes a workbook, by the way. I'll mention it again at the end. But if this is interesting to you, if you want to be part of our group, if you are already part of the group and you want to really get some discovering and rediscovering the components of the vision discovery process we'll talk about here, there is a workbook. There's a book I've written called The Vision Challenge, as you can see here, and it will enable you to work through these things. And I'm going to give you an overview of what that process looks like today as we're going through this. So with that, let's keep moving. I want to make sure that we get through this, and we'll come back to that as we have some of you continuing to, but take notes. Understand that the first step is when I say we have to wake up, we have to realize that we are all infected with the zombie virus. What does that mean? That means that 95% of the thoughts we're thinking and will think throughout the course of today are the same thoughts and same things that we did yesterday, 95% plus. We think 60 to 70,000, depends on which scientist you're listening to, but 60 to 70,000 thoughts were being processed every day. 95% of those are the same thoughts we thought yesterday. The problem is that those thoughts are really designed a lot to keep us in motion. They're very, what I call muscle memory types of things. They're things that we do. They're things that we're comfortable with. They're things that keep us out of trouble, keep us out of danger, whether there really is trouble or danger or not, because our mind doesn't understand the difference. I'm not going to get into all that, but recognizing and waking up to the fact that if we don't engage our frontal lobe, if we don't engage our mind in consciously designing our next steps every day and the course of that day, if we do not take overt action with that, then the problem is we're going to end up with our destiny being our history. Our history will become our destiny if we don't take overt and conscious and intentional action each and every day. So waking up to the fact that being comfortable, and many times we get comfortable in a very uncomfortable place. I've been there myself. I was very comfortable in a very lucrative financial place 16 years ago, in the corporate world, was having a great time, had a large house, had all the things, felt that I was really making an impact, and woke up from my zombie mind, my zombie state, and realized that if I kept going on the path that I was going, I would end up at the end of the day with regrets. Not wanting to end up in that place, I decided to continue to move forward. I'm adding some folks here. Alan, I'll promote you to panelist, but I'm going through the conversation right now, and if you don't mind, I'll come back to you in a minute. But I want to go through the 2022 Vision Challenge here, and this will be recorded and will be available as we go through. So the first thing is waking up and understanding that we're all infected with the zombie. If we think we're really, if we're just going through the motions, the infection is not serving us, but we're all infected. We all have to overcome this, what I call comfort zombie. And there's also things in our world. There are things that we're going through right now. There's outside influences that are trying to get us to work on their agenda, to work on their priorities, and not of our own volition, not of our own intention. So I want to go talk about that. So the first step being to wake up, to realizing that we need to take some action. Now, what is that action? The action that's really necessary here is pursuing what I call our vision challenge. We want our future to be by design. We want to design our days. We want to design what we're doing, as opposed to having it occur by default. Again, the zombie mind, the 95% of our thoughts going forward, if we don't take action specifically on that with our intention, then it becomes our destiny, and we don't want that. So we want to take control. So the next step is what I'm calling the vision challenge. And what that has is 3 components, and we'll come to that in a second. But first of all, we all are on the planet for a unique reason. Some people call it why, some people call it life purpose. I call it, we all have a unique reason for being here. Nobody's the same. Nobody has exactly the same reason. We may be aligned, which I'll talk about in a minute, but we all have a unique reason for being on the planet. The second thing is we all have unique value. Now, I process these on the Vision Challenge for a specific reason. I'll talk about this in a minute. But the reason and the value end up being our identity. We each have a unique value. We each have values that were brought into the whole thing. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then we each have a unique vision. It's really how we view our ideal day, what's going on, and we'll talk a little bit about more about that as well. Okay, so let's keep moving forward and say, so when we look at step 3 then becomes transforming. That's once we know or remind ourselves or get clarity on why we're here, the value we provide, and if anything were possible where we go, then we need to begin a process of alignment, really understanding, okay, here's where I'm at, here's what I'm doing, here's my daily journey, here's what my life looks like, and your life looks like what it looks like right now. And then you continue to move on that path or on that journey. So we seek a process of alignment by taking daily action. And then through that daily action, we ultimately are living a version of our ideal day, given that you are designing that day. Today, I am living a version of my ideal day. You are part of my ideal day because on Fridays each week, I want to be able to have a mastermind with those that are in my network, have come on to my path. Okay, so that's the key component of the 3 steps to that process. Okay, being waking up, vision challenge, and transforming, and then the transforming step looks like that. So let me talk about the workbook, and the workbook will be available. You can request it either through comments on this direct message. If you're part of Richardson Plano Networkers, if you're part of Be Konnected, if you're part of my communities, and I have many, all you need to do is reach out to me. There's no charge for for getting this PDF. I used to be, it's gone everywhere from the process, working with me, going through this process of it's $20,000. I don't want to scare you off, to now I've decided that I want to make this core workbook available. I'm actually in the process of streamlining it, doing some things, but the workbook as it sits right now is available to you if you request it. So as I'm kind of giving you the high points of how it works and what you need to do, if you want to get this workbook, you need to reach out to me. And most of you that will watch this video or have seen this know how to connect with me, because you're either connected with me on Facebook, connected with me on LinkedIn, connected with me on one of my networking groups on Be Konnected, whatever it might be. So reach out to me and we'll get that. So the next thing is, so what is your unique reason? The thing is, you know it. It may not come to the top of your mind, but it's within you. It's a sense, it's a spirit. It's, you know, when you are serving your higher purpose, you know, when you're serving. It's why you were created. I believe, I'm a Christian, I believe that we're all created in the image of God, that we all have a unique reason and a purpose for being here on the planet. So it's why you're created. It drives you, whether you realize it or not, or hopefully it drives you. Again, if you're, the zombie metaphor works pretty well. If you're just lumbering on from day to day, running up against the fence, not moving forward, not trying to find a way around it, whatever. But really it's your why, your reason, your life purpose. It is driving you. Hopefully it is really driving you, animating you. It's really, if you're here on in this mastermind, if you're out networking, if you're out trying to find ways to help people, it's really why you're aspiring to grow and transform. It's, in the case of myself, getting to the end of the journey. Again, life is temporal. Nobody gets out alive. So legacy and what we do going forward. Did a podcast yesterday with Karen Burkholder, my legacy planner, and we talked about legacy and the fact that as we get older, we realize that we want to leave the world better than what we started, and we want to take the things we've learned and move forward. So as you do that, we want to take our unique reason and pass that on, influence, align, and impact future generations. And then the question is, why would you matter to the world? When you're looking at what you're doing, your vision for 2022, I think we all want to make sure that we're going forward in a way that makes our impact in 22 even more meaningful than we had in 2021. The process of going through the workbook, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but if you're listening to this or you want to go back and refer to this and take the workbook and work through it, is every section, there's actually four sections to the workbook, but in the discovery and clarity process, it's just that. You go through the workbook, and the first part is a brainstorming. So it's going to say, when you're talking about the unique reason, just sit down and start brainstorming, writing reasons why you believe you're on the planet, things you have. There's questions, prompts that are in the workbook to kind of give you, what were you excited about when you were a kid? What did you excel at when you were in college? How about your work life? There'll be lots of things. And depending on how much journey you have, you'll have a lot of things, but you're just going to be brainstorming, just kind of writing down. And the importance of writing it down is that it really will trigger and keep you moving forward. So write it down, and it probably at least 2 pages of reasons. And again, the important thing is, this isn't, if you understand the rules of brainstorming, it isn't editing, it isn't critiquing, it isn't wordsmithing, it isn't anything like that. You're just writing it down. So the first step in the discovery process of your unique reason is to brainstorm. Then the second step is clarity. It's really, once you've taken some time, you don't have to overanalyze it. You can usually sit down and do this within an hour or so, or less, but allocate time and brainstorm all those unique reasons, those things that have brought you to that you believe are why you're here, and your life purpose. And then look at each area and see how you emotionally feel about this. When you read, this is what it is, then how does that feel to you? And so you might have 2 pages of reasons, and there'll be themes. Look for trends, look for, in this part of my life, and this, response to this, when I was brainstorming it, and there's kind of some, and then you'll find that there are things that evoke emotion, that get you excited, get you maybe even brought to tears, whatever that might be. Go ahead and focus on that, and then highlight the top 3 when you're going through that. So you kind of say, here's the top 3 things, and then ultimately we'll get to that. For example, my unique reason is to change the world one dream at a time. Sounds very esoteric, but what it really boils down to is, I work with leaders. I've learned over time that what inspires me, what God has me to do, is help leaders really discover and get clarity on their purpose. And this is why I'm doing this, and this is why I'm writing the book, and this is why I do Warrior versus Zombie podcast. All of those things are things that I've done after going through my own version of the vision challenge. So looking at that, then like, what is your unique vision? Again, the discovery process is ask yourself, and you're going through the workbook, if anything were possible, what kind of future could I imagine? And the words are intentional. This is kind of like, as some people have called it, my signature question is anything is anything. Anything, I believe that all things are possible. And therefore, if anything were possible, okay, what would that be? No, again, everything is possible. So I believe that. So then the next step is it's a future. It's not what it is. And the thing is, if you're thinking about anything were possible and you're thinking about how do I do it, when you're going through the brainstorming process, that's not what you're looking for, because we all tend to begin over process. In fact, the more journey we have, more experience we have, the older we are, we tend to continue to reduce our vision of what is possible based upon what we either have failed at before. Remember that zombie brain that's controlling your actions, and you say, well, no, I don't want to think about that possibility because I tried it before. I know somebody that did it, they failed, somebody might criticize me. You know, there's a whole lot of head stuff that goes on. So the important thing is to go through the workbook and write down anything and everything and not be thinking about how. Well, there'll be a step as we get through the alignment process and so on to think about how, the steps to take, the goal, you know, all that stuff, all that follows. But the foundational place is making sure that you have really effectively defined what anything were possible. Again, it's in the future. If your vision is where you are today and that's it, chances are, I mean, it's a beautiful thing if you're living your ideal day, nothing needs to change. You don't want to change anything. I think that that's probably a little short-sighted. So, but if it is, it is. But it's in the future, and then it's imagine. Again, when I said kind of imagine, it's like, do I know I can do that? No, but I know I can imagine that this is what my ideal day likes. I can imagine this is the impact I have. I can imagine this is what my bank account looks like. I can imagine this is what my health looks like. I can imagine this is what my finances look like. I can imagine living here, and I can imagine what my office looks like, and I can imagine what my home looks like, and I can imagine what kind of friends I'm surrounded. I can imagine what my marriage. Okay. Maybe today, that imagination from where we are today seems a long way away, but all of those things, again, are possible. The main thing this is the hardest part. That's why I sandwich in the workbook your unique reason, then your unique vision, and then your unique value, even though the value and the reason are kind of tied. Those are really your identity, and then the vision is the journey you're on. But I put it in between because this is really hard. It really is. I don't want to say that and discourage you from even trying, but the vision part of it, and it's the longest part of the workbook because I break it down into each aspect of your life, all the 6 areas with subcategories of what your ideal day and your world looks like. Okay. Once you kind of have put down all the possibilities in each area, again, think of the emotion that it evokes. What if this was my lifestyle? What if this is if I were traveling, or this is what my relationships look like, or this is what my bank account looks like, or this is what my business looks like. Once you start, when you put those down, the ones that are the most inspiring to you, and that's an important term. We're always being marketed to. People are always trying to motivate us to be on the journey they want us to be on. And I'm not trying to motivate. I never want to be a motivational speaker. I want to be inspirational. I want you to look at what we're doing, look at what you're writing down, look at what your intention is, and be inspired to take action in the way that's going to serve you, okay? Then go each area and then write summary statements describing your ideal day, describing your experiences, all those things. And that becomes your output from your unique vision. Then the final segment, or the third segment, kind of like the three-legged stool here, is the third leg is, what is your unique value? And again, there is a method to the madness. I've had 500-600 people at least go through this process since we created this workbook and this structure. And the key is it works. So you got to trust the process and realize that focusing on your unique reason first, then talking about and focusing on your unique vision, if anything were possible, and then coming to your unique value, because your value is essentially what people see in you. Your unique reason, it's within you. Your unique value is the impact you always tend to bring to whatever relationship you have. My superpower, the one that always is, I have a gift of connecting the dots. I can see a bunch of things and connect dots. And some people have said, well, you connect dots that other people don't see. That's how I was successful in putting together large multi-billion-dollar outsourcing transactions, because I could see how all these things could result in actually doing a large deal. When it came to turning around a ministry or working with things, and now when I work with my clients, again, I can take in the input, see, get the answers to the questions, look at all these things, and see how it can be put together as a whole. That's me. That's not you. You may have some of those gifts and some of those unique value as well, but that's it. So you look at it, you have unique value. Trust me with this. A lot of people say, well, I don't know that what I have is unique. Yeah, no, that's not true. We all have unique value. So just as you have a unique reason and a unique vision, you also have unique value. That unique value, if you're in sales, and by the way, everybody is in sales, or if you're trying to create marketing copy or anything like that, and demand for what you are, that underlies what you're messaging there. So you need to know this for all kinds of reasons. So knowing what is your unique value. There may be other people that are insurance agents like Alan, who's here, and others. There may be other people who are in your direct sales organization. There may be other people, but nobody is like you. And it's not nobody likes you. Tell a joke sometimes. I'm told that to my daughter one time. I said, there's nobody like you in the world. And she was about 2 years old, and her little lip began to quiver, and I thought I'd really connected. And all of a sudden she said, nobody likes you either. So my point is, no, I want to be clear here. There's nobody like you. Nobody can provide the value to the world that you can provide. Okay, so just as you have a unique reason and unique vision, you have unique value. And it doesn't matter what company you work for or anything else. Finally, you want to think about how that value has been provided, or you have provided that value over time. The workbook actually takes you through a process of identifying your ideal client. It's usually the person that you can think of that, regardless of whether they're somebody that you monetized or maybe the person in your life where you had the most impact. I know people who their ideal client was themselves. That was kind of like me. When I started down this journey, I had retired. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I knew I wanted to make an impact. And I went on this journey myself. And going through that journey and going through that process, I realized that I was looking for people like me, and now looking for people like me and my millennial children and those kinds of things, and other people all in between that need to understand why they're here, the value they provide, and if anything were possible, what would their daily journey look like? And that's now my purpose, that's my vision. But I had to go through that journey, and that's what the workbook is designed to work you through. Finally, when you think about your value, it's not how you do things. Only 10% is how. It's really the 90% is the outcome that people get from working with you. In my case, working on the vision challenge, working with me, if you've spent any time with me in my networks or anything else, for me, the value that I believe everybody can is you will believe in possibilities. And if you believe in possibilities, you'll believe in yourself. And if you believe in yourself, you'll believe in possibilities. So if you don't believe there's possibilities beyond where you are today, we need to get together. You need to be part of my community, and that's my life purpose, is to help you along that journey. So that's one of the things we're doing here. So when you look at your unique value, it's again, the workbook breaks it down very clearly. What are the specific results? Okay, I work with this. I know, Alan, I'm picking on you, but I have a client who has life insurance, and their spouse their spouse passed away, and now if they have that, their whole life has changed, right? They are able to pay the bills, are able to move forward, and as hard as it is, so the value there is huge. So it really is thinking about those specific things, but then also what other transformations happened in conjunction with that specific thing. So maybe you saved a client $1 million, maybe you did a $6.4 billion deal, but what was the result of that? The companies were transformed, the people's lives were, whatever that is. What are those, what I call consequential? And then, they're basically things that were indirect or a product of you having that direct impact. And then the third thing is, this is one that's, what if, and I use the example of the insurance, what if I hadn't had the opportunity to have that relationship with that client, that ideal client, where their life was changed? What would that have been? They would have not had the money. They would have had to sell the house. They, be home, whatever it might be, right? And you look at the gap there, and you realize that you can find very, very obvious points of pain for those ideal clients that you relieve. But be bold. A lot of people really minimize. One of the things I find with warriors a lot of times is we're often very humble and very unwilling to take credit. And the thing is, it's just like health, in the health space. A lot of people are saying, well, I just have one aspect of the health. I can't take credit for all that they've done. I understand that. But the point is, if it weren't for you, you're part of the equation. You need to take credit for that. You need to be bold. You need to be realizing that you have value and impact, and define what that is. So you review the value, you look at each area, you determine which ones are the most inspiring to you, and then create, again, summary statements, describe the impact, the reason, the scope, and the scale, and really some of the favorite words. All of these components, by the way, when you go through the workbook, are part of your preparing to transform. Because then once you get through to the end of the thing, then you create what I call the vision catalyst worksheets, and it will ultimately lead then to your process of aligning on a daily basis to your vision, so you can take daily action and ultimately, as we talked about before, get to your ideal day. I'm not going to show my vision catalyst, but if you go to my website, or if you want to see it, I can show it to you later, because I want to get to some questions, conversations, and so on. I know a number of you have joined in flight, if you will, and that's okay. Again, this is being recorded. It's streaming on Facebook Live. You're welcome to go back. It'll be on Facebook. It'll be in our private group. And as I said before, it is a recorded Be Connected Mastermind show that's there. And there's a number, including the last week's year in review and next week's show and so on. So that's all there. So with that, I'm going to stop the share. I'm going to bring a number of you up to the stage. I appreciate you guys going through that. And at the same time, I'm going to, let's see, go to the gallery here. I've got Lloyd here. Lloyd, I wasn't expecting you to be here, so I'm glad you're here. I'm going to promote you to panelist. I've got Alan in as a panelist. Let's see, Mohammed, I'm going to promote you to panelist. And now I'm going to say goodbye to our Facebook audience, if I can figure out how to do that so that we can have some conversation amongst the mastermind group. So if you're part of the Be Connect, or if you're part of the Facebook audience, you're going to need to pop over if you want to join us in this conversation. All right. All right, guys, can you hear me now? All right. Appreciate everybody hanging in there. I got started a little early because I wanted to make sure I got through that on the recording so it would be a resource for those guys. Like, actually, Lloyd, you were one of the folks that I was wanting to make sure I got through everything for, so that you could, if you wanted to re-engage with the workbook or look at the Challenge 2022 Vision Challenge, that you'd have that presentation to kind of help you walk through it. So anybody's welcome to unmute. Everybody's muted right now except for me. So feel free to unmute and engage. This is being recorded, but it's not being now streamed live to Facebook like that last part was.
Oh, Dave, just wanted to say thanks for doing that vision, that presentation. I've seen your presentation before, and I've got the workbook. And right now might be a better time for me to do that workbook. I might need to pull it down again.
One of the things I said before some of you got on is in the beginning, and it's in the recording, is anybody that wants the workbook, I will send you the PDFs of that, that you can print out and work through it. So